To us what we're going to see when they press. I guess there's a button that's going to be pressed.
There's a button. You're going to get to see that inside as well. So what you may see or hear, it's almost kind of like a gunshot. They say it may sound like a bang or a train, something. Be fairly quick, but you will then start to see a plume of white cloud come up out of the building. Somebody's going to think we're either having a really fancy barbecue or I'm not sure what they'll think. But it'll come right up over the building and then it will essentially dissipate into the atmosphere. So as quick as we hit that button, it'll probably come up and out. But, you know, it's not one of those things you do every day, and it should be pretty neat to see.
I mean, the group that you got back there.
Great group of folks. You know, all of them are, you know, have a very high level of education. They're certified in their field of expertise. I believe I've heard Kathy McGill say that about 105 years of experience in that department. That's pretty cool for a small town like us, but they do an excellent job taking care of our patients every day.
And that was quite an experience. I've been in the field for 30 years and I've never had the opportunity to quench a magnet. So here we are today taking out the old one, and the new one has been up and running for a little over a month now.
When you're talking about quenching a magnet, for the lay folks out there, what does that involve?
That's where we're releasing the helium. The MRI is just a giant magnet, and it's cooled by helium. And don't get me into physics here. But the quenching part was the releasing of the helium into the atmosphere. Our vent pipe goes from the top of the magnet up to the top of the roof, and all the helium was released. Big white plume cloud, if anybody was in the neighborhood and saw it. Inside, we had just a little bit escape from our vent pipe in the room, but not a lot.
As far as this old machine, I mean, what can you tell me about it versus the new one?
The old machine was very loud, very slow. If you came in to have an MRI of your brain, it would take anywhere from 45 minutes to right at an hour. With the new machine, we can do an MRI of your brain in 20 minutes.
Show me what you got in here. Is this the old machine that we're looking at?
This is the old one. You can come in here. This is what's left of it. That's been quite interesting because this had giant covers on it, and there was a patient bed and cabinetry and everything. And this is basically the gut of the magnet, what's left now. And they will cut this completely apart to remove it from the building. 18 years ago, it was delivered on a Saturday morning. They brought it in. We literally floated it down the hallway on like an airbag, for lack of a better word.
So how many patients have been through that magnet right there?
This right at 30,000 patients in 18 years have gone through this machine, and they range from doing MRIs of the brain to the spine to extremities, all types of them. Now the advantage over our new magnet that we got is the new one, we can do what we call contrast studies. We can give you the IV contrast to make parts of your body show up better, and on the old one we couldn't do anything like that. For an MRI they use coils that encompass whatever body part you're scanning, And there were certain coils we didn't have. They're very expensive. So with our new machine, we've got a wider range of coils. So before we couldn't do an MRI of the wrist. Now we can do that. We could do MRIs of the knees, but now we can do them easier and faster because we got a dedicated knee coil. When MRI services first came to DW McMillan, we had a mobile unit. It was a big old truck that parked on the side of the hospital. Patients had to go out in the weather and climb on board the truck. It was very tight, very confined. It was like you're going in a tin can. We only had services 1 day a week. So it was limited. If you needed to have an MRI study, you had to go to Mobile, Pensacola, or even north to Montgomery. And the hospital decided we would bring it in-house so we could offer services 5 days a week. And we did Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 type services. And it saved our patients from having to go out of town. So that's a huge service. If you're an oncology patient, you don't want to be riding down the road. So this allowed us to offer MRI services to the community 5 days a week, as well as offering a wider range of services that we couldn't on the mobile unit. So being able to have all your services here, if they do a CT scan on you and they say, we really recommend an MRI, usually you can get it either that day or the next day, and you could come and do it here instead of having to go back down to Mobile or Pensacola to get your MRI study. So this has been a huge service that we've brought to the community Monday through Friday for all of our patients. This is the button that my technologist, since she was here from the very beginning, I allowed her to quench the magnet and trigger the plume that was up on the roof.
And so that's essentially the end of this machine when you do that?
If we weren't cutting it up, you could refill it with helium and use it again, but this machine is considered obsolete by the FDA.
I guess that was my question is, what would you do with this machine if you were, so it's not something that can be recycled or reused because technology has changed that much?
It has evolved very rapidly. This is what you call a 1.0 Tesla magnet, and the FDA does consider it obsolete. They didn't even know any were in operation in the United States, but ours been well taken care of. What we have purchased is a 1.5 Tesla, and it's state-of-the-art. It's very nice. They have stronger magnets, but a 1.5 is perfect for what we need it to do. So this machine is being totally disassembled, taken apart, and going to the great scrapyard.
Emotional time?
Very emotional time, especially since I was involved with it coming into the building. My technologist was hired specifically to come join our team when we brought the services in-house. So yes, it's been very emotional. Okay,
so what we're looking at now is state-of-the-art. Correct.
This is our brand new state-of-the-art Philips 1.5 Tesla MRI machine. This one has nice fancy lights on it. You can hear the heartbeat, that ka-thunk, ka-thunk that you hear. We call that the heartbeat. You can't hear it right now, but if you were a patient sliding in there, there is music. We have music here, whereas on the old one we did not. It is in operation. Last month we did 130 patients, which was a record month for us. It does help when you can get patients in and out a lot faster. So it gives us, before we would do maybe 3 or 4 patients a day. Today I think she's got 9 on the schedule.
What are some of the features about this machine that are just hands above the other one? You mentioned the size of the opening.
The size of the opening, with it being wider, with it being it's narrow, it's not quite as long. It's faster, obviously, the scan time. We have better software, so we can do and a lot of different varieties of scans, so that makes it a plus as well. This one, you've got the music that's going. It's creating a better atmosphere for the patient. It helps to relax the patient, so all kinds of good things.
But you're talking about technology completely changing, and that also involves that software aspect?
Absolutely. The software gives more detail to the images for the radiologists. The radiologists are the ones that read the studies and provide a reading, an interpretation of it. So with the different advanced software, they took the images that we could see before, they've made them even more detailed, more sharper, more crisp. With MRI, you're looking at tendons, ligaments. You see bones and vessels and things like that. All the different modalities in imaging, each one is showing you a different aspect of the human body. And with the MRI, that's where you're really looking at tendons, ligaments, muscles, and you see that vasculature. With CT, you're mainly looking at bones and some soft tissue and things along that nature. So CT is fast, MRI is more detailed and fast. The timeline for imaging, which encompasses various modalities, but things started out with X-ray, with William Rinkin, and from X-ray then we had ultrasound, which actually was discovered in the Navy with the bombs and things like that. Then from ultrasound, CT was born. And CT was great. It actually came about in the early 70s. And then from there, MRI came. And MRI has really only been around since the mid to late 80s is when MRI came on the field. And for some of us, that sounds like, ooh, that was a long time ago. But for others of us that have been in the profession a while, that wasn't that long ago. That is our newest way to image the body. Since then, they've not come up with another type of a technology to image the body. They've taken CT and married it with nuclear medicine, and that's where we got PET CT scans from, but it's nothing new. It's just two different types of modalities that they blended together. MRI, for each of these modalities, they improve the software that's used to run because all of imaging is digital now. There's no longer hard film and things like that. Having this here 5 days a week, we're able to meet the needs of our customers, of our community, and be able to get them in and get the scans done. Usually, as I was saying, within a day or two, we can get you in on the schedule.
And you mentioned the difference between this and an open MRI. I guess that's the newest thing, but you're saying not necessarily the best thing.
Well, the open MRIs certainly have their purpose. Patients that usually have the open are ones that for whatever reason, they can't tolerate a regular MRI. With an open MRI, it looks like a giant pie pan that is lowered over whatever body part that you're imaging, and you lose some quality of your images. It still is going to provide information for the radiologist to make a diagnosis from, but it's not going to give you as clear and pretty a picture as a regular full closed bore MRI does. So you get more information with this, but with your open ones, they definitely have a purpose for our population, but this is going to give you the best information, is to do it on a regular MRI machine. This is the commands module if you wish. This is where the technologist sits, and she observes the patient, operates the machine, programs the machine, puts in the parameters of her scans. With this particular one, all the panels are off right now, but this particular one is where we can monitor the patient's vital signs. That is a plus. On our old machine, we did not have a means to monitor the patient. So if you needed some mild conscious sedation, we couldn't do it. With this one, we can monitor the patient and make sure that they're breathing and things of that nature, the blood pressure, whatever. We can monitor it. But this one, we also have our sound system on this one. So definitely a giant step up in technology from the one we just decommissioned.
And I guess you have full visual of the patient at all times?
You must have full visual of your patient for any of our imaging that we do, whether it's CT, X-rays, or MRI. You want to always be able to see your patient. You want to always be able to see when your patient is needing assistance of any kind.
That's got to be a real plus to be able to get some of these services right here in Brewton without travel, especially if you're a patient who's sick and you don't need to travel like that.
No, I mean, if you're sick, you want to get taken care of as quickly as you possibly can, or even the elderly, they may not have, maybe it's not safe for them to drive all the way to Pensacola or Mobile without having someone to help them get there. You think of the working age folks, they want to be able to get their treatment, get what they need, and get back to work. So, I mean, I think it's, there's so many areas of life where having something right here in your backyard, it makes all the difference in the world.